Hello, everyone. Welcome and happy holidays. Thank you for joining us today for our Windows 11 education event. We have a lot of fun things to talk about today about this exciting opportunity for you guys. And to help me do that, we have two excellent panelists. First of all, from Microsoft, the senior specialist for partners and strategy, we have Erin Morton on. Erin, how's it going?
It's going great. Happy to be here. Thank you.
No problem. And from D&H, we have Angie Dunn, our Microsoft Education Specialist. Angie, how's it going?
Hi, everyone. It's going well. Nice to be here with you today.
Yes, it's nice, especially this time of year, for all of us to gather around and talk about something we care about, Windows 11. So we'll go ahead and do that. But before we get started, I do want to kind of help you guys up who have maybe new to this platform and need a little bit more. This is a interactive discussion. We want to get your guys' feedback and questions throughout the entire presentation. So if you want to ask a question, you can go ahead and ask a question right here in this window. It will allow you to ask a question to us, and we'll answer them throughout the presentation. If you have any comments you'd like to throw in there, please go ahead and do so there. Like I said, this is an open discussion. Your guys' feedback and interaction will only help us kind of lead that discussion to topics that you guys are looking to hear about. We also have a bunch of resources available that you can take a look at your convenience. They're available here. Take a look at those before, during, after this presentation to get a little bit more information on Windows 11 for education. And throughout the entire broadcast, we'll also be doing poll questions to get some feedback on how you guys are feeling on certain topics. And again, that feedback can also help us tailor future presentations for you guys. So we're making sure we're putting out content that you guys want. But to get started, let's kind of dive right into the meat and potatoes here. Erin, Windows 11 was released about a month ago, and a lot of people have been either testing it out on a test system, or they've done a full upgrade and have been using it daily. But my question is specific to education. What is new into Windows 11 for education users?
That's a great question, and thanks for asking. Yeah, we were really excited about Windows 11 for education because I think it takes all of the things that we liked and were working well in Windows 10, and then really leaned into those strengths and made them even better. So, if you think about particularly remote learning, you're going to need to have different kinds of screens at different times of day, and to optimize learning, thinking about, I need to have my SIS up to interact with the students. I need to be able to see the slides here on one bit, and I want to make sure that I have another screen down here. You can sort of lock those frames in and come right back to them, rather than having to readjust it every single time. So I think sort of those snap home screens, and having one that's appropriate for school, one that's appropriate for play. So, once the kids are done with school, or once teachers are done, you can snap into your other home screen, which might have a gaming system that you're playing. Or like me, might have your Amazon home screen because you're doing tons of holiday shopping home. So
running out of time, by the way.
I know those deliver by dates are sneaking up on us. So I think that sort of personalization of use was a big one that I am enjoying quite a bit in Windows 11. What's also nice, user to user, somebody who isn't super technical, I like that it's not so different from Windows 10 that it pops up and you don't know how to use it anymore. Right? It was a pretty intuitive upgrade. If you like a lot of things, if you want to get every single feature, you need to do a little bit of research and start to figure it out. But it wasn't such a drastic change that when you do the upgrade, that your employees, that your the people you work with, aren't going to know where the start button is, aren't going to be able to find their favorite apps. So, with that, I think the poll question popped up was, where is I'd love to know where everybody is. Am I the only one on Windows 11 today?
You would have been, had I not switched my studio. I moved my studio PC to 11 and then had a hardware failure and had to go back to another system that was on Windows 10. Hardware failure, not Windows' fault, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
Angie, have you had a chance to toy around with Windows 11 yet?
Not necessarily toying around with it. I've been kind of focused on Windows 11 SE and kind of the benefits that the 11e models are giving to K through 8 students, with having extra security, being locked down, and pretty much making sure that the IT admins are the ones at the districts that are managing those devices. So I haven't toyed around with it yet, but I've watched tons of videos. I've been in expert zone nonstop, taking all of the assessments and kind of boning up, learning as much as I could, as quickly as I could.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover within Windows 11, and it's certainly not feasible for us to cover it all today. Again, if you guys watching have something specific you want to learn more about with Windows 11, drop us a line in the questions window. If we don't cover it today, that's something we can surely cover on a different day. But I wanted to also kind of get back into some of the features that are pertinent towards education. And one of the main features that I think anyone that's heard anything about a Windows 11, and it's not what you would call kind of like a sexy feature to move people to upgrade, but everyone has been talking about the security upgrades that have come to Windows 11 as one of the key features to upgrade. Question can go out to either one of you, Erin or Angie. What changes has Microsoft made in device security for Windows 11 that is making this kind of go-to feature for the upgrades?
Erin, do you want me to field this one? I'd be happy to.
You have spent more time in expert zone than I have, so I would love that.
Yeah, that's
I don't. Angie lives in the expert zone. We're gonna build her a room.
Yeah,
it's
I'm
just
trying
the
to
expert
bone up,
zone.
like I said, I'm trying to get as much information as I can. So with Windows 11 SE, obviously these devices were kind of thought up, and the idea has come around security and making sure that everything was locked down. So the students are no longer going to have access to the Microsoft Education Store. Instead, what we're going to be doing is relying completely on the IT administration. So, whoever is the admin at that particular school, they're going to be provisioning the devices, applications, everything that the students will need. And they'll be using Intune for education. And that allows the IT admins to basically deliver the right apps and policies securely to every student. So it helps ensure that the device and the student will stay secure. And only the IT admins are able to do the download and install. So it makes sure that the devices are more secure. Additionally, I think the devices are protected, obviously, by using cloud-based tools to deploy all of the latest security updates. And they approve any of the schedules, monitoring, and Windows Update through content. So, it's kind of a lockdown version. Obviously, there's no real reason that students should be going into the Microsoft Education Store and downloading apps if we give them a device that has the ability or has all of the features and applications that they need. So it'll be very locked down, but again, it's all going to be done by the IT admin.
And I want to jump in there. Just to clarify, that's Windows 11 SE.
SE, yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the differences between Windows 11 for education, Windows 11 Pro education, and Windows 11 SE? Because that might be confusing some people.
So go ahead, Erin. I was just going to say 11 or 11 SE is really the lockdown version.
Mm-hmm. And that's the simplest way to think about it, is that 11 SE is really designed more for students. It is a device-based operating system. It's a really thinned version of the operating system. So it has only an approved set of apps that it can run. It does require cloud management. That's a big thing that we want to make sure that people understand. While those 11 SE devices are much more affordable, they are cloud first, which is awesome because it allows for a lot more flexibility. It allows for a much more secure deployment and management. But it does require that you use Intune. There's no workaround. There's no wait until we get there. It is an 11 SE device needs Intune. But we've made security enhancements between Windows 10 and 11 to really make it that much easier to get to what we call our zero trust environment. Many of you are probably aware, but education is the #1 attacked industry by ransomware by leaps and bounds, more than healthcare, more than enterprise. And it's really, it's these hackers preying on the most vulnerable targets. You have the most diverse set of users in terms of age and technical ability. They're all over the place. And you are working, the education customers are working on really razor thin teams. They are lean and mean. And so, hackers are taking advantage of weaknesses in security systems. So that's why, Windows 11 was designed to make that zero trust architecture super easy to turn on and to create a really secure environment. And, the Windows 11 SE devices and that operating system, those are we think of Windows 11 SE as really that answer for the K-8 students who aren't doing, who aren't running CAD, who don't need to get into advanced levels of Excel, who aren't going to have a huge requirement on their operating system, who you just want them to be able to do their schoolwork, log in remotely, run a few apps like Zoom or Google Meet if you're not on the fabulous Microsoft Teams. But these devices are not meant to be, we don't want customers to think that these are the same as a, standard Windows 11 device. You can't upgrade. So the Windows 11 SE is not just an operating system, but it is a device. So when you buy a Windows 11 SE device, it's great because it has, it's low cost, it's easy to manage, it's locked down, but that's the device it is and always.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Erin, but it also comes with all of our Office apps. So like when you, out of the box, you get Word, you get Microsoft Excel, you get OneDrive with 1 terabyte of storage, and you can use all of those applications. Yes.
Yeah, that's if you get Windows or Microsoft 365.
Right. So they come. Well, so you can use those offline, and then you buy a Microsoft 365 license, and then you're able to use them online.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. In terms of functionality, in terms of what is like the main functionality differences between SE and like let's say Windows 11 Pro for education? Is it the apps they can use? Is it the devices that can connect to it? What's kind of the key user experience differences between the two?
It's the flexibility. I would say that the Windows 11 devices, sort of the sky's the limit in what they can do. They can add new devices, they can add new applications. They can run all different kinds of things. You can save things to your hard drive, etc. The Windows 11 SE device is designed for education, really for those primary grades. So it is a lockdown device. Like Ange said, there is a pre-approved set of applications that you can install on this device. So, if a district is running something sort of out of the box that is unique to them, if it's not sort of a mainstream application, it may not be compatible with Windows 11 SE. And as of right now, there's not workarounds for that. So it's a very, I think it offers kind of the best of both worlds. It's locked down for those students who you don't want getting too creative on their device. And allows them to use the full Microsoft suite, have those desktop apps, have the security, but it is all cloud-based. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not
it's a stripped down version for K through 8 that we don't want accessing a lot of the additional features and applications. And we want to make sure that the IT admins are completely responsible for making sure that they have the right applications that are provisioned on the device using Intune for education.
Yeah, it's not a unusual concept, especially like you said for the K through 8, where you only have a pre-approved number of applications that could work. They're downloadable through the store, and like you said, there might be districts that have an application they use that is like Win 32 base that they
Yeah.
have to have, and if they have to have it, there are workarounds. They've been workarounds for other platforms like that. You can have some kind of hypervised environment that they can go into through a trusted app, and
Mhm.
or something like that. But if that's not a workaround as well, then you've got your other flavors of Windows 11 for education. You have Windows 11 for education, Windows 11 Pro for education. So there are options out there depending on what the overall needs are.
Totally. And I think that the idea of options is really key to talk about, because the goal is not that every single primary school student is going to be on a Windows 11 SE device. It's that you can go, the partners can go to their education customers and say, let's standardize technically on one operating system, but let's make sure that we're putting the right flavor of it in front of the right users. So, 11 SE K to 5, Windows 11 Pro, for education in the higher grades, so that you're presenting a sort of streamlined solution to the customers. And when I think about, the solution, again, 11 SE does require Intune, and modern management is really where, at least the technology industry is going, and education has been slower than most to catch up. And so this presents a tremendous opportunity, one, for schools. We're enabling and maybe pushing them along for this move towards digital transformation, but it's also an opportunity for partners to show where they can add value, how they can help guide and counsel and help their customers modernize. So that's something that I think is really important, is that it's not just Microsoft, here's a new thing, and the partners don't have anything to do with it. It's how are all of us as an ecosystem, as a channel, going to work together to make sure that it's a really great experience for the end customer.
So you talked briefly about Windows 11 SE kind of requiring Intune to manage that, and you talked about having the possibility of a mixed environment where you have some students that might be on Windows 11 SE in the district, and then your middle school, high school might be on a different version. Your pros, Windows 11 Pro for education. I wanted to talk a little bit more about Intune. Is Intune that platform flexible enough to handle all devices, whether they're running Windows 11 SE, Windows 11 for education, Windows 11 Education Pro? I think it's Pro Education. I can't remember. But is Intune flexible enough to manage all of those different devices?
Yes. The short answer is yes. Intune for education, especially for those who are running SCCM or who have only seen Intune for enterprise, it's a really different platform, and it's so user friendly and intuitive, and it is really flexible. So it can manage iOS devices. So let's say a school has a number of teachers who have iPhones or administrators who have iPhones that need management. We can manage those in Intune, as well as all versions of Windows 10 and 11. And so being able to explain that to your customers because it's really easy to use once you get there, but I'm going to be really honest, it's not always super easy to get there. Schools need support getting fully enrolled into Intune and getting it running smoothly if they're not already using it. We see a lot of schools who have a mixed environment, who maybe are just managing teacher devices on Intune. We see that as a really missed opportunity, because they're not managing, they're not streamlining management. They're having to run two different worlds. Really, the IT team is having to run two completely different worlds. So getting all of those devices under Intune simplifies their life, streamlines security and policy setting. So we the major question we often get is, does Intune manage Chromebooks? And it does not. But that is not because Microsoft isn't willing to play. It is a Google decision. So they can't manage Chromebooks, but they can manage pretty much all other devices. And it's something that once customers start to use it, once our education customers start to use it, they really love it because it is so intuitive and works pretty seamlessly. It's just the getting there. So I think that's sort of to our poll question, for those out there, how comfortable do you feel with Intune? And, would you be interested in a deep dive on the Intune for education specifically?
I mean, Intune is a dense product. I knew at some point in my life that it could manage things like iPads, because I had set up an Intune environment and it was managing an iPad, and I'm older now and I completely forgot that it did it. So I was like, oh right, it can do that. So yeah,
a more simplified version of that. So I think it makes it just a easier, more user-friendly environment. So it's more geared towards education. It's not your normal Intune. It's specifically geared towards education. So it does make it a little bit more of a simplified process.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we have a video or a link to some demos in there, and there's a demo that'll walk you through what the quick start for Intune for education looks like. And there's even, which is basically here's how 90% of education institutions set it up. So do you just want to stick to the norms? And if you need to change anything, feel free, but here's sort of a path of least resistance that we've seen to be best practices, rather than having to make every single decision on your own. So I think that that's another really nice feature. And I wanted to mention that in the spirit of inclusivity, this is the new Microsoft, Intune also manages third-party applications. So you can manage policies on Zoom. You can manage policies on the student information system. So it's not just the Microsoft apps that you use in your environment.
All right. There's a question just came in that I wanted to ask. There's actually been a couple questions about upgrades from Windows 10 to Windows 11. We'll go with the first one. Is upgrading to Windows SE or Pro Education free if they have a Windows 10 Pro Education device? Will there be options to choose between the two versions, or are they separate upgrades for each? I think that's a great question, because again, it's still we still have to really understand exactly what the difference between SE and Education Pro is.
Totally. I think that that is a super great question, and I'm happy to clarify that. I honestly think the easiest way to think about this is that Windows 11 SE, think of it as a device type, not an operating system. A device type.
That's a great way of thinking about it.
Yeah. You can't upgrade to it. You can't downgrade to it. Once you have a Windows 11 SE device, you can't upgrade to Windows 11 Pro for education. It's a device. Versus, yes, the upgrade to Windows 11 Pro for education, if you already have Windows 10, is free, provided that you have a device that has the minimum specifications to run it. So this is another great opportunity to start talking to your customers about accelerating a refresh cycle, or if they're evaluating new devices and they're not sure if they want to have them loaded with Windows 11, making sure that they're buying devices with the minimum specs that will support that upgrade when it does eventually happen automatically.
So, and then there's two other questions. First of all, Ronnie had kind of almost a follow-up to that. Why are we seeing some devices that are able to upgrade to Windows 11 and other machines that are not at this point? Because if you go through the standard Windows upgrade process, you might get a screen that's saying, hey, we're not ready just yet.
It's about the device specs, and the device is having the right specs to support the new operating system. That's as simply as I can put it. I can send as a follow-up the like minimum requirements, but there are certain minimum requirements, and some of the older Windows 10 devices, or the lowest of the spec range, might not have what's needed to support them.
And I can speak from some of the testing that we've done internally within the solutions lab in terms of upgrading from 10 to 11. If you, Rodney, or anyone runs into a device that you look down the minimum requirements and you say, hey, this device meets all these requirements, but it's not telling me I'm able to do the upgrade, there are paths you can do to kind of just kind of force the upgrade and make it do the upgrade immediately. I haven't run into any devices that didn't meet the minimum requirements that I wasn't able to do the upgrade to. Where the issue maybe is, there are a lot of manufacturers I'm talking about where we're testing HP devices, Lenovo devices, Dell devices, MSI devices. If the manufacturer hasn't signed off on, hey, this device is Windows 11 ready, then the upgrade won't come to that device until the manufacturer says so. So it might not be a Microsoft issue. It may even be a manufacturer issue. Again, if you meet the minimum requirements, you can do the upgrade. What was that?
I said blame the OEM.
Yes, blame the OEM. They're not on the call. Throw them under the bus.
Refresh off, right? Like you always tend to buy a new device.
Yeah.
It's a great time to talk about a refresh.
Right. And here's the thing. We're not playing blame the OEM. The OEM is doing what's right by you guys. They want to make sure that the device is going to fully work when you do that upgrade to Windows 11 without any issues. That's why our group at D&H is doing testing on these devices. I have twice, even today, kind of just walked people through the pros and cons of like what happens if I do an upgrade early, how difficult it is to downgrade if I need to, because there are things that happen so early into an operating system. And and we'll talk quickly about, I don't know if I can push these poll results off. I can. Going back to how many people have upgraded yet, we're sitting at 30% of the people here that say that they're using Windows 11 on their primary machine. Another 25% of people that are testing it, kind of similar to what we're doing at the Solutions Lab on test systems, making sure everything's still working. And then we have almost 45%, almost 50% of the people that are sitting back and waiting. And that, if you don't need to go, that's a perfectly valid thing to do. And that's a lot what the OEMs are doing. Sit back, wait, make sure it's working. And if you, when it comes time to go to Windows 11 to get a lot of the great features that we've talked about today, you'll make sure you're doing it in as seamless as an environment as you can.
So Erin, I don't know if you the Windows Insider Program, which the Windows Insider Program basically is a opportunity to register for a Microsoft program, and you're giving feedback for Windows 11 and kind of letting us know what is or is not working, or what you like, what you don't like, and then we can make adjustments based on all the response and information that we're getting. But I think that is a valuable resource or tool for our partners to be using, because they can actually be involved and engaged in the Windows 11 process and changes or anything else that's coming down the line. I can put a link in the chat for the Insider Program. But again, it just allows our partners to give feedback and to try a device, and then you're letting us essentially know what is or is not working.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'll say this: being a part of the Insider Program for Windows 10, back as far as like Windows XP, it wasn't called the Insider Program at that point, but there was a similar version. For Windows 11, I think Microsoft has done a fantastic job of surfacing different levels, or they call them rings, of the Insider Program, and almost the level of risk you put your system at each ring. You can just kind of be on the safe ring. If you go over to I believe it's called the beta ring, it might be a little bit buggy. You're testing out new features. So it kind of goes, hey, if you have if this system's your primary driver, maybe not the beta ring, because you might run into some issues. And then you've got the dev ring if you're completely crazy and you need to be at the bleeding edge. And bugs be damn, I need to have the latest version of Windows at all times. And it kind of explains what each one of is, and it's actually been refreshing to see the level of transparency there from Microsoft.
And speaking of transparency, I just want to clarify, please don't ever quote me. I was totally kidding. We love our OEM partners. But your point, Chris, it's but it's important to know that, like, we know it's not perfect out of the box. Having a really solid and positive user experience is top of mind for everyone. So we do work super tightly with our OEM partners, and then rely really heavily on people who are willing to be part of the Insider program to give that kind of feedback and make sure that the user experience is good. And so we're all in it together, really trying to make this work for the user so that they just have an experience that works for them, and they don't really have to think about it.
So one question that came to mind, and I'm gonna back up a little bit to the beginning of this discussion, where we're talking about how to classify Windows 11 SE, and I think you nailed it on the head, where it's not an operating system you buy, it's a device, it's an operating system that's tied to a device.
It's really capable of stripped down. Yes.
Yeah. To that end, and this is the logical question, the logical follow-up question I had that popped in my head as the D&H reseller inside of me was starting to shout. How long, and if you can't answer this question, I completely understand, because we're early into life. How long do you foresee Microsoft supporting that operating system so our customers and our reseller customers have the peace of mind knowing that when they buy that device and it's got Windows 11 SE on it, that it will be supported for 4, 5, 6 years, the lifespan of that device?
Yeah. So I can just openly say 2025, right, Erin? Like, for just Windows 11 as a blanket statement, like, that is the current end of life or support date for Windows 11. Not necessarily SE versus Pro, but Windows 11 is going at the moment until 2025.
I think we just need a point of clarity here. That's actually when Windows 10 is sunsetting.
That's 10, yeah.
Yeah, Windows 10 is sunsetting in 2025. So the 50% who haven't upgraded, or the 45,
you got time.
It's not like super urgent.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, sorry. Windows 10. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
I'll put the countdown on the monitor behind me later.
Just 2 years and a bit. But 3, oh my goodness. So no, I can't say with any certainty. But if I were a betting woman, I would look at the size of the investment that Microsoft has put into creating this device, and the time that it has taken, and the thought that it has taken. And it's a big bet. It's a big pivot for Microsoft. It's a big sort of reimagination of how we meet our customers where they are. And so based on that and the investment from our fantastic OEM partners, it's not going anywhere anytime soon, because, this is what customers have said that they want and need. And until they say otherwise, it's not going to change. So, it's here to stay as long as people want to use it.
And Rodney asked again, and I think this is kind of where this is all leading, just openly asking, hey, is Microsoft see Windows SE as geared towards competing with Google's operating system?
Yes.
Yeah, that's clear. It's clear.
It's not meant to be an apples to apples comparison, right? Because the Windows SE device, though stripped down, still has a lot of features that Chromebooks don't. The ability to work offline, the ability to have desktop apps, the Office desktop apps. I think it's positioned to really stay true to our tenet of, we want students using tools that will help them be college and career ready, that can support enterprise level work, while being optimized for low spec performance, because understanding that budgets and needs for particularly that early elementary school phase, you just don't need to be doing advanced Excel modeling. And
I don't know
trying
if
to
you
put
do,
an OS
like I do.
Oh,
My 7-year-old is an Excel whiz right now. Equals sum, he's gone. It's great.
But also to that end, we've also introduced a very complementary cloud service called Microsoft 365 A1, which it's a 6-year license. It includes all the desktop apps. It includes Intune for Education, which you need to manage an SE device. And it is a device-based SKU. So very similarly to the way a competitor sells a optimized for low cost device with a device-based SKU to manage it, we are doing the same thing, but we are including Minecraft for education so they can learn STEM and coding. We are including the desktop apps that they will use in their future, high school and beyond. So it's okay, we see you, you need this, but let's stay true to what makes Microsoft for Education great and put it into a device that will be appropriate.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because being realistic of the environment that we're all in, Microsoft maybe isn't the most well represented operating system within the K-12 environment, but once you get out of K-12 into college and the corporate business world, it's almost all Windows. So
yeah.
To have a device and have an operating system to kind of start to bridge that gap a little bit. So when you have someone who's spent their entire education using a Windows device and then they're handed their first device on job and it's also a Windows device, it just makes it easier for them to get up to speed rather than having to essentially relearn an entire new OS on day one of your job. I think that's one of the key advantages we're driving at. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I think K through 8 is really where the SE segment or the Windows 11 SE is a great play. Like we already know that, anything 9 through 12 is going to be really, really great with Windows versus Chrome. But we were trying to find an affordable, low cost device that we're able to make very, very secure and stripped down to make it a Chrome compete. So I think the SE solves for that. And obviously everyone else should be using Windows 11 or Windows devices rather, especially in education, when we get to the later middle school and high school, we have applications and software that is kind of bar none. And obviously security is best in class. So.
And I think you bring up a great point, Ange, which is that, yes, that even I'm allowed to know that the majority of education students are currently using Chromebooks. And, I don't want to dance around that. Yeah, the IDC data says it too. But it's not going to be as simple as exchanging one device for another. We get that. We need to support our education customers in making this transition, because like any change, it can be a little bit difficult. And so that's where I really think D&H is, positioned to shine, where the education partners of D&H are going to be positioned to shine, is to sort of be that technological knight in shining armor, to be like, okay, I know that this seems difficult and you've never deployed Windows devices at scale before, but we have Autopilot and Intune and white glove services to make sure that you can open, that you have an out-of-the-box experience. Your users have an out-of-the-box experience that is positive. And so, what I would love to know from our audience is, the comfort level and familiarity with Autopilot and Intune, and the services around it that are really needed to light that up.
I think that's a good point. That's a good point. We're at a great point to transition there. We should talk a little bit more about exactly what is Autopilot and how it differs from Intune and how it's used to kind of help get the students running right out of the box. So if you can take a couple minutes and kind of explain to those who might not know what exactly Autopilot is.
Erin, do you want me to do this, or do you want to? What's that?
And maybe while you're ready, if we want to ask the poll of, I'd love to know where the audience is around Autopilot, and that will help us sort of frame our answer.
Yeah, we got it up there for you.
So Intune is a necessary requirement, or it's a necessary requirement to have in order to be able to do the Autopilot services, as is Azure Active Directory. But once you have those two things, we can use D&H services to come in and do your Autopilot services. So you're paying, a particular cost per device to do the Autopilot services, but we're helping with zero touch deployment. And essentially we're making sure that all of the devices are provisioned just like they would be with Chrome management. So that whenever the devices are landing at the school district, the school's opening the devices, they're connecting to the Wi-Fi. As soon as they connect to the Wi-Fi, everything's provisioned, image, ready to go. So it's, at the end of the day, a service that we are offering, especially for partners that are not currently doing those services internally today. It's something that D&H can offer to add value to all of the partners that don't have that solution in place. Does that make sense? You do? Okay.
No, it makes perfect sense. And to me, but I have to talk about it every day. I think of sort of as Autopilot is what we have to do behind the scenes in the kitchen before we bring the food out. So it's, Autopilot requires space. You have to have space in a warehouse to do this. You have to have the technological know-how. And so Autopilot is sort of the set of pre-provisioning services, the foundation of pre-provisioning services. And then on top of that, you can do so much more with Intune, with preloading apps, with having different users and their different profiles there. It's really it's designed so that partners can offer services to just have that cell phone experience where the user logs in. And so I'm curious, I don't know if we go to the next slide to be able to see the poll results.
I think these people are so hot with these poll questions that we may have broken our poll system. So
okay.
I'm not seeing any results. I don't think it's showing up to them, but we'll kind of circle back and just drop us a line in the chat if you what your guys' feeling on after Autopilot is. I apologize for that. You guys are too much for our polling system right now.
And they really don't even need to know about it. We'll show them and teach them how to pro services team is amazing. So everyone can obviously reach out to myself or proservices@dnh.com.
But I think that what's important to keep in mind here is if we think about the user experience of moving to Windows or deploying Windows devices at scale, that starts from ordering. It starts from being able to see, do you have the right devices in stock and the right specs, and are you going to get it to me quickly and on time? To, I don't want to have to go as, the IT director at Erin's public high school. I don't want to have to put a thumb drive in 14,000 devices. I simply can't. So making that is, doing the hard work on the front end to make sure that it's really seamless for the end user. And so that's where, again, I think that it's important to engage with D&H or to make sure that your end customers know. And we have lots of great examples of customers that they think, I don't want to add $5 a box. But then they start to think about how much is it costing me per box to do this on my own? And it's usually 10 to 20x that. So, if you feel comfortable having that conversation with your customers, it's a great way to deepen the relationship. I don't need to tell all of you that services are what make a relationship sticky, in the partner world. So how to really make sure that your education customers want to come back to you.
And I can speak. Go ahead. Actually, Angie, go ahead. Because you're
I was
probably going
just
to say the
gonna
exact same thing I was.
No, I was just going to say, like, I think partners are very accustomed to selling hardware, and, you know, you get 2 or 3 points in margin. Suddenly you start attaching some of these services, and we're getting 20, 25 points of margin for. So I think it's a very lucrative and easy business, especially when you're relying on Disty to help you in those services. So D&H is obviously here to help, and available to do all of those services. And I think it's just a different game than just selling hardware and earning 2 to 3 points, right? We're attaching, you know, cloud, we're attaching integration services, migration services, autopilot services. And at the end of the day, you're making a lot more money than you assume that you would be. So it's very, very valuable.
Yeah.
And I think what's nice. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
No, go ahead. You guys are the stars. I'm just here. I'm just here for. I'm just here to be the pilot.
You're
you guys
The
are.
showrunner. What I think is also nice to think about is, like, it gives me an icky feeling to think about. I'm just trying to add more zeros to the PO that I'm sending to my education customer, right? Like, any of us who have kids in school, like, I know that that's not anyone's intent. It's really thinking about, like, you're helping them better invest their dollars in a way that's going to have a greater return on investment for them, and it's going to have a greater impact. And, you know, I used to manage education relationships with schools directly, and one of the schools I managed got hit with a ransomware attack, and it put them out for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of classes. This is a school district of over 250,000 students. Can you imagine the newspaper coverage, the cost to the community, to the school district, to the state, like, being able to just say, okay, we're gonna deploy Windows devices with zero trust security out of the box, could have been avoided. So it's those kinds of stories that I think help tell, okay, yes, there's work on the front end, and, you know, why is it important to have the right kinds of Intune settings? Well, it's examples like that. It's, people sharing information, putting something in a shared file that they don't realize that shared with all means students too. You know, it's those kinds of things that you really want to help schools avoid, because they are costly and painful and embarrassing, and we just don't want our customers to feel that way. So I think that, you know, these are all things that you can feel good about doing from both sides of the coin.
Yeah. The share to all functionality. I've heard some one school district that unfortunately was saving report cards, and unfortunately put them all to share to all. So all the students got everyone else's report cards. That was a fun story. So, you know, having something that can help you make sure that stuff doesn't happen, and the data stays where it's supposed to stay and stays safe, and you don't have anyone accessing things they shouldn't, is completely invaluable. And much to your point, Angie, D&H services can do so much more than just doing the autopilot enrollment. We have the ability to do, you know, the services that you guys are probably already used to: asset tagging, laser etching, if you're looking for that. The one service that I cannot recommend enough is green shipping, where we will enroll the devices, repackage them into kind of more of a crate, where we don't send you 500, 1,000, 2,000 computer boxes. We send you, you know, 4 or 6 very well packaged boxes that has all the devices already in there, all the power supplies. Because I don't know if you've been at a school district that's trying to get rid of 2,000 laptop boxes. It's a nightmare. So if you could leave those laptop boxes with D&H, it's actually, I would pay way more than what we charge. I don't think we charge cents per device to do that, and it's completely invaluable. So to not only
and I think just having
take
a
advantage
conversation
of that service,
with the end users.
Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, like, having the conversation, like, if you're just talking about devices or you're just talking about cloud, you're actually leaving a lot of money on the table, because someone's going to migrate, someone's going to do the integration services, someone's going to do the there's so many different facets of the entire process that I think we need to start having a conversation about who's going to do all of these other services for you to make sure that you're ready to go whenever these devices are delivered.
Yeah. And I want to add, like, I'm learning about new things that D&H does on this call. That green thing is so cool. Wish Amazon would learn from you, make recycling day at my house a lot easier. We're out there with knives.
Yeah, I've got about 50 boxes that I'm gonna have fun getting rid of after Christmas.
That's actually what I'm giving my kids for Christmas is the boxes.
You know, at a certain age, they only need the boxes.
Yeah. I digress. But so one thing I wanted to make sure that we hit on before we end, and this has flown by, is that this can be a complicated conversation to have, and this can be a difficult conversation to start, and you might not know exactly how to go about it. We partner really closely with D&H to make sure that you have end customer facing assets, marketing assets, email templates you can send, banners. Their team is happy to engage. We can put you to the right Microsoft teams that can help you have that pre-sales conversation or that post-sale support. So don't think that 50 minutes of us chatting about it is the end. There's a lot out there, particularly at D&H, that it can look like you created it, but it's they can be the experts on it, and you just send it out, and then that's how you can start having the conversation with customers.
And just to add to what Erin is saying, sorry, Chris. I just wanted to say the cloud team and I very regularly jump on calls with our partners. We do a discovery call to talk about the environment, the infrastructure at the school district, and the solution that they're looking for, their pain points. And then we are an extension of our partner in talking to the end user. So we will jump on end user calls after we kind of know the scope of, what the end user is looking for, and we will help our partner sell. So we're definitely a resource in that, that respect. We're happy to, the cloud team and I are happy to jump on calls with partners and then ultimately calls with our end users. So I think that's a super big added value that some of our other DISTI partners aren't doing today.
Because it's crazy to think, even Microsoft employees whose whole job it is to do this, it's a team of 4 that has conversations with schools, because you can't possibly be the expert on zero trust security and how to use Minecraft in Teams and how the Autopilot etching works. Although Ange is getting really close, so I'm impressed with that. But just so that's what we're saying. The channel is a team. We're here to support you. We want to do right by our education customers together. And much like the Insider program, think of this as an Insider program. Share feedback. Let us know, what you want to help, deploy the solution and better serve our education customers together.
Perfect, Erin.
And we've got a lot of the resources you're talking about, the partner services resources where we've got those templates. Those are available on dnh.com. I believe they're also available in the resources that are a part of this broadcast. I went and highlighted them for you guys a couple minutes ago. Go ahead, click on those, see what's available. And of course, jeez. You're supposed to mute your phones, people. First time, and it's my wife. It's the first time that's ever happened. Anyway, we are getting close to the top of the hour. If you have any questions that you would like to ask, please feel free to do so right now as we're wrapping up. I've got 2 questions that I want to get to. The first one was, does the customers have to have Intune in order to take advantage of Autopilot for provisioning?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I
Erin,
thought.
You want to deep dive a little bit further on that, but yes. Azure, Active Directory, and Intune education necessary.
Okay. And then the second question I had was, is there any specific promotions around Autopilot right now that our customers can take advantage of?
Want me to go
Yes.
on, or you want to talk about it? Yeah. Yeah, so we have a particular promotion that is going until the 31st of December. So it's a promotion that is built to incentivize our partners to try Autopilot services, and it's giving $10 off per 100 units for the Autopilot services. So again, it's only going on until the 31st of December, but we're giving an additional discount for devices or the Autopilot services. Essentially, again, it's every 100 devices you get $10 off. And you can contact pro services at dnh.com or Microsoft Education at dnh.com.
And given that we're like 10 or so days away from pretty much everybody checking out for the year, keep an eye out for what we're going to be doing in the next half as well. So that's what we have right now. More exciting stuff to come in January. But yeah, and if you have ideas, that's a huge ask I have for everyone. Your holiday gift to me, everyone, I know you didn't know that you had to get one. I want ideas. If there are ways, if you're hearing things from your end customers that if only I had this, if it was $10 less expensive, if, anything that you're hearing, like, I just need this, and then I would go enroll into Intune. Please tell me, because we want to do it. We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah. And I'm glad you touched on that, because you stumbled into my secret last question, because I was going to ask you guys, since we are in the holiday season, why don't you share? And it's going to be hard because it's a hard question to ask. What's your favorite holiday gift you've ever received? Either one of you can start, or if you need me to start, I'll start to give you time to think.
Yeah, you start, because I'm trying to think if I've ever received anything good enough to qualify.
Oh, see, well, here's the thing, when you're a kid, it's kind of easy because you make a list, but as you kind of get older, it gets a little bit more difficult because
you don't make lists. Go ahead, you start.
So, but my family's gotten into a groove of they've started buying me tools like hammers, power tools, whatever, because it's something that I want that I never buy for myself. So, like my wife bought me a cordless saw last year. I'm like, I'm never gonna use this. I use that thing all the time now. I was like, this is my favorite thing you've ever got me, because I didn't know I wanted it until I had it. So it's those are the types of gifts that I really like, is the ones that are they're practical, that I didn't know that I wanted until I had.
So I got a $300 Xbox Game Pass last year, and that was probably the biggest. That was my biggest gift. That was very. They understood that I just wanted to game, and I didn't want to have to pay for it. So $300 towards the Xbox was very, very good last year. Mine's kind of weak. Go ahead, Erin.
Halo's pretty good, guys. I'm just gonna say, it's pretty good.
Wheels are spinning. Like, now I know what to get Anne for Christmas. I am a big fan of experiences. So a few Christmases ago, my then boyfriend gave me a jacket, like this, pretty heavy duty winter jacket.
Leather?
And we lived in Southern California at the time. I was like, what?
Why do you need one there?
And in the pocket were 2 plane tickets for us to go to Alaska together a few months later. And he then proposed to me on our trip to Alaska. So that kind of...
Okay, it was a plan. Okay.
Well, yeah. That's a different story, Erin. You can't even compete.
In the recent term, I will say I opened one of my Christmas presents early this year, and this is just a real shameless, I don't get any sort of credit for this, but it's a company called Vuori, V-U-O-R-I, joggers, since we all basically live in comfortable pants these days, have only taken them off to wash them. So if you're looking for something to get...
There you go.
Person in your life who likes comfy pants. Worth the splurge.
T-minus 16 days, so shipping deadlines are catching up to you.
I would just jump on right now.
Erin, Angie, thank you so much for joining me today. This was a fantastic discussion we had. For those of you watching that may have missed something, this broadcast will be available on demand within the next 24 hours on dnh.com/solutionslab. Keep yourself tuned to that page for our next broadcast. This is the last one we'll be doing this year. If you have any additional questions at the end of this, you think of tomorrow or the next day or whatever, you can email us at eduservices@dnh.com, and they'll be able to help you out with any questions you might have. But with that, I want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us. Hope everyone has a safe, wonderful holidays and a fantastic new year. And thank you so much for being a part of the D&H family. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes, thanks, Erin. You're the best.